Hi guys, Tom Laird here. You've heard me break down contact center technology on the podcast time and time again. Now it's time for me to help you with your challenges. As your contact center technology advisor through our new company, Expedia Digital, I can help you with things like CCAS selection, any type of AI implementation, and nice studio and integration services. It's the same honest advice you hear on The Geek applied specifically to your operation. Visit expediadigital.com to get started. That's expediadigital.com.
Welcome to advice from a call center geek. The guest away talk contact centers, technology, and the people behind the operation.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center contact center podcast, where we try to give you some actionable items, take back into your contact center, improve the overall quality, improve the customer experience, maybe even improve the AI bot experience. Kind of interesting. I'm just getting back today, back in the office from Nice World 26, which is kind of the new branding of Nice Interactions. A lot to talk about that. That'll be for maybe tomorrow. A lot of really positives. And again, there's always some things that, I kind of question, but, I think the event's amazing. Just it's put on. Nobody but Nice can do an event like that in that kind of the CX space. So again, kudos to them. More on that tomorrow. But the number one kind of talking point that a lot of the Nice executives were talking about, and also a lot of the customers there were starting to talk about, is how do we handle AI voice bots that are working on behalf of customers at scale? I was lucky enough to kind of take part in what Nice called the Executive Exchange, and it was about 40 or 50 really, I want to say like the really top customers. They're some of their largest customers, and we had kind of a day event where we talked about a lot of these really cool things that I think are impacting customer experience in CX. And let's kind of break this down a little bit, because some people are like, I don't think it's going to happen. Well, one of the examples that I heard was, and again, we can kind of talk about GitHub, and there's a lot of questions about kind of what's happening with GitHub. Is it just become the kind of this, kind of corporate thing from being this kind of, hush puppy kind of startup cool thing? And maybe that's why they're starting to struggle with kind of keeping up. But nobody can deny the amount of AI code, the amount of AI generated code that is just flooding their platform. They can't keep up, right? So that's kind of, for me, was the beginning of the earthquake. And then again, hearing about this at Nice World, where you could be, and we see what Apple is doing, right? They're coming out kind of with their upgraded Siri. I think that they're planning on you being able to use your iPhone to just launch agents with your voice. Hey Siri, can you set me up a airline? Set me up a flight for I need a plane. Let's try that again. Can you go purchase me a plane ticket for next Wednesday? I'd like to leave anytime between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. I need to fly from Erie, Pennsylvania to Orlando, and I need to get there by 5 o'clock. Here's my budget. And again, it's going to have connections to your PayPal or connections to your Apple Wallet. Going to be able to make those decisions. And then, hey, after that, can you call as many Erie plumbers as it's going to take for somebody to get on the phone? I need somebody to get to my house tomorrow because I have my sinks clogged upstairs. And then, hey, I have this new subscription. Can you call the company and cancel it? And she's just going to let it go. And these AI voice agents are working on our behalf, and they're going to go do these tasks. Now, imagine that with every single person doing something like that, and doing it at scale and doing it a lot anytime that they want. And even sometimes even things that they would put off, now they're going to do because they don't have to do them. So when that happens, right, your queues are going to explode. The amount of volume coming to your contact center is going to just be massive. There's going to be a lot of issues with dealing with substandard bots, can't answer questions, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But what do you do with that traffic that is kind of spam or garbage traffic? You're going to see more types of spam traffic to your center. This is a whole evolution of what I think customer experience is turning into. And to be honest, I didn't really see it coming this fast. But even if you're a 5-person plumbing business, if you're not answering your phone, if you're just depending upon forms for people to fill out on your website for leads, like those days are done. They're going to be done because it's going to be instant. Schedule this, do this. I want this done now. And the companies that kind of have that answer are the ones that I think are going to succeed. And I think I kind of agree and disagree at the same time, but I like what NICE is saying as kind of the answer to this. So one way to kind of solve this problem is, the old school infrastructure is not going to work, right? Coming to the IVR, pressing 1, pressing 2, pressing 3. Maybe the bot can do that, maybe it won't. But if you have that, it might just skip you and go somewhere else. But having a AI, they call it your AI front door. So think of it as kind of your receptionist, right? Nothing crazy, can handle all the volume that comes in, can answer basic types of questions, can then make sure that things get routed to the proper places. And then after that, I got lots of questions that I still don't have answers to that we're going to have to think this thing through, right? One of those is service level goes away, SLAs. I mean, unless you're segmenting, which I think, and again, I'm literally spitballing as I talk here because this is also new. Separating your human traffic versus your AI traffic, right? A concept that we've never really done before. It would be just skills normally. I want to do sales. I want to do retention. I want to do service. But now there's another layer of, is it a human? Is it an AI bot? And if it's an AI bot, that probably has its own track with its own set of skills. And maybe AI is talking to AI. The other thing is service level is not going to matter for those skills, right? The AI will still hang out all day. Virtual callbacks, I think, will still be very important because you don't want to pay for some of the telephony of that. But how does that work if you do a virtual callback with a virtual agent? Like, I don't know. It's so I think fast moving in so many different questions. The other thing is, how do you verify customers now? Right now, maybe, I've heard, some customers say, well, as they're verifying, things can be sent to your phone through SMS, but you're going to want to do that all day. Or what if you're not available? What if you're on the phone when that comes? Did you keep that customer on hold? Do you wait until they do it? Do you send out multiple kind of calls to their socials or to their SMS, or do you make another phone call to them so that they verify? Maybe this is where, the blockchain does come in, where there's some type of validation verification based on some type of blockchain or some type of security from that aspect. Voice authentication, I don't see how that is going to work anymore. Now, maybe I'm sure there's going to be companies that are going to ban this. They are going to say, hey, we only are going to accept human traffic. I don't know how long you could do that for, especially if your competitor is accepting it. This is the stuff that I think is going to be the first real disruption, not AI taking over for humans. And, well, maybe. Maybe this is what pushes that, but the whole making the best of getting swamped with agents working on behalf of customers trying to get something done. What about your retention lines? What about your cross-sell, your upsell? AI, and maybe there is. Maybe the agent can ask the customer, hey, if they give me a better deal, do you want me to use it? Right? If I can get them, and maybe it will negotiate on your behalf. Something to think about. Retention lines. If that AI is going to cancel, there's no retention that you can do. You can't retain a computer. I think authentication is a nightmare. That's going to be, one of the things we're really going to have to figure out. What else? I think the virtual callbacks we need to think through. we've talked so much about quality being a brand changer, being one of the few ways that you can actually change and kind of be and discern yourself differently from your customers. And if we start to see the majority of call traffic in the next 2 to 3 years as voice agents, I don't know how you do that. It does become very transactional, which is very interesting. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm way overstating this. Love to hear if any of you guys are listening, especially on LinkedIn right now, what your guys think. Yeah, I mean, so Jason Shirley says, I'm pretty sure that there's some historical lessons we can learn. I think people are a bit afraid because they're hearing it's AI, but it's no different than any other technology junk. It's just happening faster. I think yes and no. I think once people start to try, hey, they'll start the basic stuff. Hey, can you call that restaurant and schedule me a reservation for 6:00? That's how it's going to start. So reservation lines, restaurants, like all of these kind of places that never thought, I mean, it could be great for them. They could be getting more and more calls. But again, once people start to get trained, and again, we are being trained on AI every day. I think that was the other kind of the topic, right? Is before we didn't like to use voice things, right? But every day we use ChatGPT, we use Claude, we're interacting with it, we're talking to it, we're typing with it, we're chatting with it. We're training ourselves to use AI more. And I think you're going to start to see, again, the use cases of AI or us being able to handle AI in a service environment is starting to become more normal because we're utilizing it. Having said that, we demand the answer now. So if your AI bot is bad, and again, I'm kind of going off topic here, then you're going to have massive problems here too. So there's a fine line here of what is going to have to be done. And a lot of this stuff isn't even scoped out yet. I think QA still, again, not a cheap plug for auto QA, but QA is going to be even maybe more important because you're going to have to know what the hell is happening on these calls. When you see stats going one way or the other, or retention, or what is actually happening. So to be able to QA at scale with AI is going to be absolutely imperative. And that should be something I think everybody should starting to do now, because it literally is a cost savings and an upgrade to your service. I think the BPOs could see a big boom here too, because customers are not going to want to deal with maybe the cost, the queues, how to handle that with AI. The BPOs are going to be set up to handle all of that, right? I'm thinking about this day and night right now. I mean, is your company thinking about it day and night? Probably not. So again, I think the BPOs are going to have we went from the BPOs are dead because everyone's just going to have voice agents to realizing, oh my God, voice agents are actually pretty expensive now with how they're being sold. They're not that great. I don't know what is good, what is not. And the BPOs are starting to really be able to hash out what is real and what is not, be a real technology partner. And now being able to scale very quickly because this is all we do. And to think about what are the answers to these things from a technology standpoint, from a human standpoint, from a value standpoint. Again, I think that this is a massive opportunity for all of the kind of technologies looking forward, and even USA BPOs, because the cost structure could be going down with as much AI as kind of happening out. I wonder too about blocking bots, because I know there's going to be companies that are going to try to do that. And they're not going to allow any type of agent to come through. I don't know how you're going to be able to do that, especially if you have your competitors are allowing for that. Yeah, John, I agree. QA is still critical, right? And there's going to be, I think the top 5 disposition that you're going to get in your call center starting next year is going to talk through, my AI messed up my account. Can you help me? That's going to start. And I think, again, that's going to be the ebb and flow. We're going to probably get this onslaught of AI agents. Bubble's going to burst when we realize it doesn't work that well. Humans are going to come back into the fold. They're going to start calling and say, hey, my AI screwed this up. Is there any way that you can help me with that? And I'll tell you what, when that happens, and again, this is crazy because it's like they're not going to want to talk to your AI. They're going to want to talk to a human. So if their AI screws up, I could really, really see that, again, the rush of human agents and this just repeating cycle of what we think is exactly the opposite of what is true. I'm asking just lots of questions here because I don't have a lot of answers yet. I think in the next couple of weeks, I will have more and more answers as I really, really think through this, and I will kind of relay this to you. But I really think that we're going to see these AI bots. They're going to probably be terrible. They're going to mess up a bunch of stuff. People are going to get scammed. It's going to be a real issue. Humans are going to come back into the fold pretty heavy. And then we'll have a kind of a happy medium of some really high-end stuff that I think will settle out, just like kind of everything that we see. But the bottom line is you have to be prepared to deal with that. And you have to be prepared to handle at least this initial onslaught. You have to be thinking some of these things through because this is a different world. And this is even different than what I think we thought this was going to be, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but most of us still thought, hey, we're just going to have voice agents, virtual agents, right? AI agents, and they're going to handle all of this traffic. Not thinking that, the customer is going to have those same type of AI as well. And again, how do we get this AI to AI conversation proper? And what does that mean? And what are the new metrics? And this is a whole different CX space. But I felt the panic in the room with some very, very large enterprises when really they haven't really thought this through yet. And it's coming quicker than you think. I mean, I think in the next 9 to 12 months, we'll see what happens with the next Apple release. I think that's a kind of a big tell, but this is really interesting. And I guarantee you something that my BPO will be prepared for. I don't know how we're going to be prepared for it yet, but in the next 3 to 6 months, we will have a full plan to be able to handle any of this for our customers. I think the great thing that we have is the auto QA tool, right? So from a QA standpoint, we're going to be able to tell you what's going on at all times. So again, I don't know, really interesting stuff to think about as an industry. I'm not even peeling the first layer of the onion yet when it comes to API authentication and how do you authenticate and how do you use voice authentication now, and what happens if there's a dispute and what happens to retention lines and what happens to sales. So let's see here. My 2 cents, unfortunately, soon the customers AI will be talking to the BPOs AI. Once that happens, the human side disappears. The BPOs, the last won't fight to keep the simple work. They'll focus on the work that still needs a person. I mean, we've always, again, this is really, and again, thank you for the comment. This has nothing to do with you, but we've been taking away the easy stuff without AI forever. Like, people think that's all. AI isn't cool until it can do more than that. And we have to start stopping. That was a big topic that I brought up there at Nice World. And I said, stop saying that we need to take away the small stuff. Start talking what it can do, why it's better, right? No one, does anybody care about the small stuff? I mean, password resets. You don't need AI for that. So again, if a customer, anything that we can automate, we've already been automating in our BPO for years. Like, anything that's easy is already gone. Like, we already are taking the really hard stuff. And I think this is the stuff that bothers me with the technology sales guys, because most of them are like 26 years old. They've never run a call center, and they don't realize that we were taking away this stuff for years. So they kind of sell it to you as, hey, look at what we're doing. We're taking away we were doing it cheaper, and your AI is way more expensive. So again, that's a whole nother topic. But I think the BPOs are going to be the biggest value add the BPOs are going to be able to provide in the next 9 to 12 months is a massive technology partner that's going to take away the pain and the anxiety of what's about to happen. We are going to be able to articulate what is going to happen. Here's where we believe the future is going. Here's how we have a plan for it. I think those BPOs win. And it still is a technology and a human aspect. But the technology is becoming more and more and more prevalent. Customers don't understand. And to be honest, AI was supposed to be cheap. AI is not cheap. These big technology guys are selling seat license with tokenization on top of it, with per minute charges, and just building this giant AI pyramid that is more expensive than it was before. And I think if you're going to do an AI, proof of concept now, don't do it on something that is easy. Do it on something that provides real value to you. The Fabletics guy said that same exact thing, and I've been literally screaming that for years. It's been awesome. So at Nice World, he talked about when we did our rollout with Nice with AI, we pushed it to do really difficult things, because if it could do difficult things, it could do things that actually added value to customers and added value to us, not just a check the box because it could do something easy. And we have to change the mentality again as an industry on this. Guys, I'm going on kind of rants here. This is kind of fun, but thank you for the questions. And you guys are kind of teeing me up a little bit here to kind of go off on these. But it is a different time. It is a different world. And there's lots of things that I do this every single day. I think about this stuff all the time that I'm not even seeing. And so I think, for the first time in a long time, there is some value in going to these conferences. Right. I've always been a believer in the user conferences, the NICEs, the 5.9s, the Genesis, do those. But having these bigger, larger conversations, I think is really helping the industry. And then being able to kind of articulate kind of some of the things that we're hearing other people talking about. So again, I was really happy that I went the last, 2.5, 3 days to NICE. Really good stuff. But all right. Thank you guys so much. That was kind of my emergency meeting. I want everyone to start thinking about this. Let's have some conversations as an industry about this. This is not going away. This is something that is going to affect everyone. And there has to be a plan. It doesn't have to be a massive, expensive plan, but we have to be able to start to think and articulate what we can do to kind of help some of these things that are about to be on the forefront of AI in CX. So again, thank you guys very much. And I'm probably going to do another podcast. I've been pretty lax on these podcasts. So might even do another one tomorrow to talk about some of the other things that we brought up. And I definitely want to talk about some of the other things that I learned that I think could be very beneficial to everybody at what I learned at NICE. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.